Bienvenidos to the third installation of the nitpicking and absolute drunk on haterade analysis of the Bridges podcast. Here is episode 3 of that podcast with the Krasenstein brothers. We're going to scrutinize everything. Haters in chat are going to be seething, and I will be too. So I'll see you there. So before we get into the analysis of the C-list political pundits, let's see who they are to begin with. We're talking about Brian and Ed Krasenstein, okay? Twin brothers. They graduated both from Rutgers University 20 years ago with a degree in econ, which is a step above, let's say, poli-sci, so that's great. Now, they gained fame for literally, and I'm reading this, for replying to Trump's Twitter account very often. I remember this, actually. They were suspended in 2019 by the liberal consensus back then. It wasn't Elon, for allegedly operating fake accounts. They denied these allegations and they got their accounts reinstated when Elon took back over. So that's what they've been known for. They were born and raised in a Jewish household in Somers Point, New Jersey. And so that seems pretty nice. They launched their own business at 15. So they're precautious. What that means is that they ought to be pretty mature at 40, but we'll see.
Like, I want to bring Sandy Hook up. I'm like, I don't know if you should, because then it's just going to give the people on the right this argument. It's like, why would they do that? And
which is exactly what I was worried at the time. Yeah.
Right. So like when he brought that up, I was like, oh man, yeah, I don't know if he should be doing that. But then there's so many parents who would love to be able to speak to him face to face. Before we left, we spoke to Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is the only guy where as soon as the cameras were off and everything, I think you guys were the best to do it.
Okay. So first of all, their highlights are just completely just desaturated of anything of interest. And I don't know if this is like a jerk thing to say, and I don't even care if it is, but the Krasenstein twins both have like the same, I don't know if you'd call that a lisp or some sort of like autistic kind of like flair to their voice. I say that as a pejorative. I don't know what it is, okay? And again, I'm somebody who's not neurotypical, by the way, and yet still I can speak well. These people are kind of off. And you notice this with a lot of white people, Jewish people. They kind of talk in a way that is like, what the hell? And then me, who's like coming up from the South, is like, okay, come on, gringos, what the hell?
Debate that I'd had, probably still up to that point at least. The Benny Morris one was really good, but in terms of you guys, I was really scared because the only thing I've heard about you guys, you were Twitter reply guys. So I was worried that the
felted, suffer
knowledge base would be very low. You remember when I came into the green room, I was like, okay, have you guys?
He's like, I'm worried if your guys' knowledge base is really low. Destiny literally got called out by Joe Rogan in front of millions of people. Just like, oh, that Destiny guy? Wow, he's everywhere nowadays. All he does is read Wikipedia and then jump in. And that's so true. He's talking about another person having a low knowledge base compared to him, which is like saying that like a guy who's 5'6" is like much taller than a guy who's like 4'11". It just says not much about the guy who's 5'6". And so when we're speaking about Destiny intellectually, he doesn't have a basis or a foundation that is he's basically a sophist is what you'll notice real quick. And so to say that the Krasenstein twins have any less knowledge about politics and Destiny is just a stupid thing for him to assume. Kind of shows a degree of arrogance on his end.
Guys are listening, because I didn't know you guys were going to be crazy like progressive memers or whatever, and you were about to start screaming like Medicare for all or you hate America or something. So I was super paranoid. But no, you guys came super prepared, and there was at least one thing that you started running down. It was a particular person in a story. I had no idea, and it was Alex Jones or Greenwald brought him up first. I was so glad you guys were here. I think it was one of the people that were arrested.
Oh yeah.
It was one of
like
the
Biggs or one of the Cowboys.
It wasn't Biggs, but it was another one of the Cowboys. Yeah, but one of you guys, I mixed you up. So one of you guys knew it exactly, and you were able to run that down. I was like super grateful that you were there for that because I would have been completely caught.
He was complaining after the.
So the direction of the debate, or sorry, the podcast is going to be. Remember when we debated Alex Jones? So again, it's Alex Jones rent free. It's a W for him, and that's with that. Alex Jones being in debt like crazy. His wife left him. I don't know what's happened to his kids. Obviously, like he's been wrong in a lot of the conspiracy. He looks like a gerbil mutant human cross. It's a mess. He's got alcoholism, the Troon stuff. It's a mess, folks. The Blair White addiction. I don't know, folks. Kind of off. But it's still an Alex Stubb thus far because they only talk about him in this podcast.
Alex Jones thing, how I didn't let him talk enough. So I think we all feel the same. I mean, it's tough, especially like we know each other, so we know like what he was acting like this, like during the debate, like I want to talk, yeah. But it's tough, like, and then there's you, like, and I know you know your stuff, so so it's like we want to let you talk, but I wouldn't blame you.
Why do they talk as if they are like gun to their head, like, and we know that you know a lot on Destiny. I just wanted to talk, and I happen to know my twin brother. Like, okay, genius, but why does he sound like he's under the conviction of a Ruger pistol? I mean, just at the fucking temple. It's just, I don't know what's going on there.
Like, I mean,
yeah, I think everybody feels it, especially when you hear someone say something you really want to like go.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, you get an idea and you're like, okay, how do you say this? And then like 3 seconds later, you forget what that idea was. Well, and Alex Jones exacerbates that because he just throws a conversation off of immigration. It's like,
Yeah. I have a thing called I call this a concept.
It's fascinating to see Destiny interact with people that are even more autistic than he is. And what's more crazy is that oftentimes, again, a Destiny orbiter is probably like 25, white, bisexual, and autistic. These are like 40-year-old men.
Installation of beliefs where I think people just like there's like a whole unrelated thing that like every conservative believes in, and Alex Jones feels like sometimes he's like pushing a button and he's just like if he doesn't like where it's going on one thing, like, well, I really think that January 6th is blah blah blah. Okay, well, how many of the FBI agents were vaccinated? It'll just be like you'll go into some crazy other areas. Like, okay, he's more guilty of
They're just coming off as complaining.
No, like replying to people's replies on your tweets is a very good way to prepare for a debate. And
because
replying to Trump, like trying to get that reply in as quick as you can so it gets the most likes.
I think I disagree with
The shamelessness. So he literally says, and he's prodding them like, hey, you don't have any experience, right? You've like, what's your political experience? So the implication is that they got felted by Alex Jones, and that, well, Destiny here, Daddy Destiny's going to bail you out. Of course, Destiny lost to Alex Jones. Well, did he? Anyway, he has several years of experience, whereas these Krasenstein twins are kind of flexing that they're like, well, a good way to prepare for these debates is be a reply guy on Trump's Twitter to get the most likes. Insane, folks. Just like the self-immolation is just appalling to watch.
that. I think it could be fun to do, but I don't think it can necessarily prepare you for a debate in real life.
So actually, what I did before this debate is I made a bunch of tweets about January 6th.
Okay.
And then I went and I replied to every reply that tried to counter me.
Okay.
And I tried. So
You see how poisoned the millennial mind is, and God forbid people my age that are 20 use this sort of logic, but they're saying, I literally practiced a debate with Alex Jones, one of the most charismatic like conspiracy nuts ever, by tweeting something stupid about a position like January 6th, and then have the reply guy like effect metastasize and basically argue with other people that are nitwits on Twitter. And that was going to get them ready to debate Alex Jones, knowing that they have like these speech pattern problems, and it's like appalling.
it was a good exercise
okay.
to see if I needed to look anything up.
That's okay. That's really good. Yes. Before you came into this debate, did you guys have a goal in mind? Like, what did you want to do? Or were you just kind of like winging it, or?
I mean, yeah, no, I didn't plan, like, I know you plan things out. You have like a whole strategy. Like, I was just like, I'm just gonna try and fact check him. You know? I mean, we had notes and stuff. Like we looked.
But you see that? So your strategy in debate isn't having a narrative, it's to fact check somebody. Now, that is literally the lowest common denominator, most basic chick way of doing it. You know, for example, to say like, just think about it from like the cross-examination perspective of a lawyer or of a prosecutor. If you're saying like, you know what, okay, let me scrutinize what you're doing. That's fact checking. You're not even constructing a narrative. If you want to be a good orator, you want to be a good debater, you need to frame a narrative and then have that be sustainable as to then warrant the attention of the people watching so they think that you won. But what they're doing is saying, well, Alex Jones is already the pimp daddy, so let me just find a little hole in whatever tirade he goes off. And they still lost.
We researched January 6th. We researched like what the top talking points were from the right, and I listened to the entire January 6th report as I was at the gym for the 10 days prior. So like an hour a day for
Gotcha.
10 days.
Okay. The only reason I ask is from a professional debater. Okay, as I would say that I am. That line of questioning was perfect in two really strong ways. One is you had the factual part ready to counter every single time he made something up, right? He's like, "Why did you say that? Yeah, you did. I read the deposition." Or, sorry, you. Okay, you didn't do anything. You don't get any credit for this section. Okay, yeah. But every time he brought something up, you had immediately like, "No, I read the deposition. This isn't what you said. This is what happened. You were talking about this." So from a fact understanding point of view, that was really good. But also rhetorically, that was a really good question. And the only thing that I'm upset about is by the end of all of his like kind of dancing and moving around, he didn't actually address it.
Yeah, I know.
Which was a good point for us. Like if you admit in court that you had psychosis, how can anybody trust anything you say ever? I think that was basically what you were implying by the question, because you asked, are you experiencing psychosis now?
Yeah.
And that's a phenomenally good question. Do you think of that in advance? That like, I want to get him on the psychosis thing? Or
I sort of did. I read that. I read it about how he said he had psychosis in court. I'm like, and I was thinking like, how can anybody actually trust this guy if he admits to having psychosis that affects his judgment? So I'm like, I'm definitely going to have to call him out on this. So I did plan it.
One of the things that I've learned so much about law and courts between the Israel international law stuff and between like the Trump Jan 6 stuff and all of this, all of his indictments. One thing that I love about the court process, I love under oath and depositions and statements in court, anything that is like legally binding. I noticed especially through a lot of the lawsuits, you can bring up the Fox lawsuit, you can bring up the Sandy Hook stuff for Alex Jones, or you can bring up.
Question in chat: how much Adderall do you guys need to focus on this? Like, I'm getting Z's right now. Holy shiz! Wow.
The vote rigging lawsuits. It's very interesting what people will say in front of a camera and how different that is to what they'll say in front of a judge or during a deposition. And I wish that more.
There's a lack of narrative here. There's a lack of charisma. They're just saying like, okay, well, what does the legality of such and such go in concordance with what they say in private, which really doesn't have anything to do with debating Alex Jones in the context of January 6th. But now he's mentioning election rigging. Why?
More people focused on that it's like in front of a camera, you'll say whatever. But when you were faced with a judge, you basically had to say that the only way you could excuse the stuff that you were saying on your show was that you were f***ing out of your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah, so the one thing that so many people on the right, they always, like, I know, like, debating people on Twitter, what they say is that all those vote rigging cases were thrown out without the judge looking at the merits. And I think I brought it up during Alex Jones' show, is that actually that's not true. A lot of them were thrown out, not the rulings weren't made on the main ruling wasn't made on the merits, but most of the judges did actually rule on the merits or touch on the merits and say that no, there's nothing there.
Basically, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it didn't go to trial, so they didn't have a full trial. But people were saying that they were thrown out on standing, like, oh, well, they threw it out for a bullshit reason. But what they would do is, for a lot of these, they would look at the complaint, and the facts didn't even support that. It was even stated by the petitioners, didn't even support the complaint being made. And oftentimes, the remedy that they were looking for the perceived injury was insane. It would be like, we think like 100 votes in Pennsylvania in this county are illegitimate. So for the relief that we're seeking, we want the entire state to like re-vote or something. It was like, they were insane.
That's not even true. These are straw man's, brother. What the fuck? One of the most big known things in the 2020 election was auditing Arizona, a swing state that went blue by like 0.03 or something. Okay. That is a small ass margin. Georgia, same thing. Wisconsin, same thing. Less than 1%. And Destiny's like, oh, 100 ballots equals a whole recount. First of all, if it's a recount, who gives a fuck? Why not audit it at that point? If you're confident you don't have dandruff, why are you so scared to go through your fucking hair and see flakes come out? I mean, just logically, what's so wrong about that? I don't have a gun on me. I can lift up my shirt. I don't have a gun on me. Why are you so over? Like, really? Like, why not just recount the vote? Is it that hard? But no, God forbid they did that. You know, the last time they did that in a major scale, like in Michigan 2016, when Hillary wanted a recount, they found out that actually it was the Democrats that had too many votes counted in their for their candidate, and it actually became a problem. So their canvassing did not work out that way. So let's see what they go on with.
It was a joke.
And it was like the one was Mike Pence versus like some congressman. And it was like the lawsuits, like some congressman in Arizona was trying to sue a congressman in another state, and he doesn't have standing there because he doesn't live in that state. Somebody in that state would have to bring that lawsuit.
Yeah. I think one of the most, do you know who Nick Rekieta is?
No, I don't.
Oh, no. Oh, Rekieta Bros. It's over. Rekieta Bros. It is over. If you guys don't know about Nick Rekieta, he's a guy who went from like making the most amount of super chats of any YouTuber, like more than PewDiePie, Markiplier, any of those, during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial like 2 years ago. And I mean, now he's like down bad as hell, terrible show, gaunt, severe alcoholic from what I can tell. Let's see what he says.
YouTube lawyer sounds derogatory, but he's like a lawyer guy that got big on YouTube, especially over the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. There were a lot of law channels that got a lot of audience because people were following that. I had an argument with him that was one of the most infuriating things in the world, where a lot of these Trump people will defend certain actions that. Do you remember the electoral scheme with the false electors, right? And the defense of that I heard from everybody, Nick Rekieta gave me a big argument about this, was that states have the ultimate authority over how they run their elections. No one else has shit to say. Like if they want to do a little bit of whatever. And in reading and looking up more about how elections are run, I'll admit our system, it's not really complicated. We just don't learn as much about it as I would hope we would. But it's kind of true. States do have a lot of authority over their elections. But then it's interesting that when it comes to the Trump thing and the elections being stolen, everybody thinks that Texas should be able to sue another state for how they run their elections because it affects them too. And it's like, wait, well, hold on. Well, that's totally contrary to everything you said before. It plays into the whole. I don't think anybody has any principled position on anything. Just whatever arguments are.
Okay. So that's a salient point to make, to point out a contradiction with some alcoholic lawyer that fell off years ago. That is relevant and pertinent. But I mean, the common sense solution is, if there's all these like bullshit conspiracies, is to have an audit of all the swing states. Not fucking hard. Like you could say, this ask is unreasonable, this ask is unreasonable, but why not just meet the bare minimum, okay? Like, let's say there's one cop that wants to search your car, and then there's another cop under reasonable suspicion wants to search your anal cavity. You could say yes to the more, like, decent one, and then maybe when they ask for more after you do the first thing, they'll be like, okay, well, you can point out, like, hey, you MAGA people are retarded. But instead, you're going to just not allow anything. No transparency, no recounts, no audits, and not of the ones that would like actually satisfy ballot certification, chain of custody certification, all these important things. The qualifiers that they did the recounts under, from what I recall when I was in high school, it was just plain ballot recount, which doesn't address a lot of these issues that the Republican clientele had in mind.
Relevant for their political side.
Yeah, it's like a sports team, like whatever's going to make my team look better.
Which drives me crazy. Yeah.
The most basic bitch criticism by like any center person is, oh, it's like a sports team. It's like a sports team.
We have another second clip.
Beating the dead Sandy Hook horse was a bit much by the brothers at the end.
That was me.
I kind of thought maybe, but actually I don't think so. When they first brought it up, I was kind of thinking like, oof, are we really going to go here? But no, actually, I kind of think I think the line of argumentation was pretty solid. You said you had psychosis and you couldn't tell when everything was a conspiracy.
This guy, Destiny, talks with such uncertainty when he speaks, and it's for no reason at all. I don't know if it's like a deep withheld insecurity within him as a person. But when he says, no, I think it's actually pretty good. Why do you have to talk like that? It's like a cartoon of a guy with no fucking testicles. I mean, eunuch destiny over here, Mr. Bernelli. Anyway, I mean, come on, just have a little conviction when you speak, and it goes a long way.
Conspiracy? Like, are you sure you didn't think it was like, how do you know you're not experiencing psychosis right now? How do you know everything's like conspiracy right now because of that, right? How do you know if it's a character right now or real? Yeah, I actually think that line of questioning was solid. Also, they
All right, cut this guy. We already heard everything to say. Okay.
You know, so we were actually on the plane flying into Austin, and
Uh-huh.
we were talking about this. And Ed's like, "I want to bring Sandy Hook up,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know if you should, because then it's just going to give the people on the right this argument to say like, oh, they how do you bring this up? Like, why would they do that? And
Which
you know,
is exactly what I was worried at the time. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So like when he brought that up, I was like, oh man, yeah, I don't know if he should be doing that. But then it all linked together about why we should be trusting you. You know, like why should we trust anything you say if you testify? Like I just have the mindset. You know, there's so many parents who would love to be able to speak to him face to face and say you're such an asshole for what you said about my kids. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the opportunity. I really don't give a shit what anybody says about me going after him for that. So
Mhm.
I mean, I get that. I get Brian's side. I get your side. But I don't know. It was just something I felt like I was obligated to do, give an opportunity.
Oh, get him his fucking cape, man. Oy vey, man. Oh, you said something about the Sandy Hook kids' parents. Does he know any of them, by the way? I don't. The fuck?
Yeah. I have independent of like the morality or like the fact base or whatever. It's like a debate.
Also, how hard is it to bring up something where a guy literally was civilly found culpable of doing, which is like spreading lies about Sandy Hook? I haven't looked into it, but like obviously he went off tirades 10 years ago, Alex Jones that is, provided that obviously he had under like different facts in his own opinion, but whatever. The point being is that like if he was already civilly found in court to be liable for lying and shit like that, defaming people, well, if that's the case, then as a guy who graduated college 20 years ago, is 40 years old, can you not take on an alcoholic in Alex Jones? But instead you got to be like, should I do it? Twin brother, can you please help me in this? I know that I have him dead to rights, but like I'm kind of scared of fucking it up. I mean, how hard is it? How hard is it? I mean, it's like kicking a field goal from 20 yards out. I mean, does your leg not work? Jesus.
Rhetorical thing that I keep in mind. If you ever watch like a movie, like a hero movie, usually the good guy always gets beat up first, and then he comes back and he beats up the bad guy. I think when you're doing debates with people, something that I've noticed is that if you strike first with the insults, even if they're maybe kind of warranted, you always look really bad. It always makes you look a bully. But if the other guy leads and then you counter, you can look righteous as long as you're like within the realm of what you're doing. So the fact that came up, I think that came up pretty late into the conversation. It was like the last third. Towards the end, and it was like you said, he kind of brought it up first, and it was really relevant to the rest of what was being talked about because he brought up the psychosis line, which was really good. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Do you feel like Alex Jones believes what he says?
So like we talked about that. So I mean, after the debate, I think he left, right? Like,
I was just,
so we hung out for like maybe like 10 minutes or so, and then we went back to the hotel. But we met a lot of the InfoWorks guys at the bar and just had a few drinks. And it was a good conversation. They were nice guys, like normal people, right? And before we left, we spoke to Alex Jones, and he was like friendly. He was like joking around. I think it's a show, you know, like it's all a show. It's all for money. He
Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Before I even think about it, let's just dog walk through the fucking contradiction they just espoused that I just picked up on, okay? So, first of all, watching this live for the first time, let's think about it. So, you claim that Alex Jones falsely claimed in court defending himself in the Sandy Hook trial that all of a sudden that he was under a psychosis and therefore it couldn't have meant what he said or that he wasn't culpable. But then the implication is that, well, are you under psychosis now, Alex Jones, in 2024? The answer you wanted was that, well, actually, I'm not. And in fact, I lied during the civil court proceedings that I lost as Alex Jones. Okay, so then the implication that you twins are saying here is that he is not under psychosis and that he genuinely believes what he says and that he's an actual idiot and an extremist. Well, if that's the case, then you literally just said that he's saying these crazy things when you met him at the bar later, when you hung out with him for 10 minutes, because he was joking around and that he doesn't really believe it and that he's in it for the money and that it's a grift. You see how that doesn't make sense? So on one hand, you're saying that, well, you actually, defamed and slandered the parents of Sandy Hook and you're a scumbag and you genuinely believe that and you're lying to cover for it by saying you're under psychosis in that context. But also you're a grifter and you don't really believe what you think because you were nice to me. And there's no way a crazy guy like him could ever be nice to a liberal guy like me, is literally what they're saying. You see how that doesn't make sense? And when people say, you're hating on Destiny, you're nitpicking, that's a pretty big contradiction to character assassinate a guy like Alex Jones who has his own problems, and then to like just completely fumble that within the sequence of like 13 minutes is actually appallingly fucking stupid, okay? And it's like, what the hell? Okay, the haterade is kicking in. I'm hitting my high of haterade. Holy shit, let's chill it out.
he's like 67% Republican, and most of my friends, a good number of my friends are Republican, and we joke around, like they voted for Trump and they know what I do on Twitter, and
Bruh, really? If you're friends with these twins that literally got their e-clout from reply guying Trump for years in a row, your MAGA card is taken the fuck away, okay? Are you serious? Are you fucking kidding me? What? What the fuck? I mean, that's like a Biden supporter being friends with Mark Dice or like Matt Walsh. I mean, like, what the fuck?
I mean, we're still friends, and I think that I think a lot of people in America, I think that they're starting to draw lines in areas that they shouldn't, and ending friendships, even like relatives. Like I've had people related to me that won't communicate with me or my wife because I don't like Trump. It's just
Okay, that's tough, bro. Really? Really? And by the way, like in my context, virtually all of my family's Mexican. So just imagine being me. And I'm still kosher. I'm still good, brother. I don't know. Maybe your Riz sucks. Maybe your Riz sucks.
pathetic. So I think that we're so much more divided now, obviously, than we were 5, 6, 7 years ago. And people need to kind of separate politics out of their personal relationships. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty hard for me to say, oh, I'm not going to talk to this person. I can't be friends with this person. You have to have either done something really bad or said something really terrible directly to a person or behind their back. I don't think just having a difference of opinion on politics or gender ideology or immigration, I don't think that's enough to make me say, oh, I don't want to be friends with that person. I mean, because most likely there's a reason they feel that way, and I want to know. I want to know what that reason is.
Okay. I just realized I asked you a very content streamer brain question. I think I agree with you 100% for personal acquaintances. I guess from my perspective, it's interesting for me because a lot of people I deal with are also like coming to my stream. Yeah, so like content creators or other people. So like if I know a guy personally who believes in a particular thing that I think is like abhorrent, I don't say abhorrent, but I think this is like bad for the country. I don't think this is a good thing. I don't think I would not be friends with that person. But sometimes I'm confused online. If there's a guy who he's polite, he's friendly, but diametrically opposed to me on issues that I think are crucial for the composition of the nation and our future. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm curious, but I guess you guys aren't as friends with you guys aren't like friendly with content creators online as much. It's kind of a different relationship.
I feel like
Destiny seems to have a sort of Damocles of just retarded consternation where he's here like, should I be friends with this guy? I don't know. Should I platform a guy that's conservative? And see, that wouldn't be an issue no matter what your temperamentality is, as long as you're winning the argument all the time. For instance, like I wouldn't have a problem. Like in high school, I had a friend that was like a Bernie bro, but I know how stupid those people are and how benign their intentions are. Like, I just want free healthcare. I kind of like Norway. That's benign. And I had no problem being friends with those people because I'd win every argument because I'm me. And, if I were Destiny, I'd believe the same thing. I'd be like, you know what? I'm belting these people. I'm a 35-year-old gusano. I'm kidding. But I'm this like 35-year-old pasty guy. I can debate anybody. I've been in the game for so long. But he's not confident. I don't know why. Like, for example, Tom Brady wouldn't be insecure of his backup quarterbacks because he was always better than them. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, the king himself. And so it wasn't an insecurity. Whereas with Destiny, he's always scared. He's playing scared. I don't know. It's like if you were the backup for Russell Wilson and he's like fighting for his life in training camp. I mean, that's basically the dynamic there.
yeah, Twitter's a little bit different than that, because you're not having these face-to-face things. There's Twitter Spaces, but it's
Mhm.
just a voice. And yeah, well, I mean, I have frequent conversations with some Republicans on X, though, like in my DM box. Like we have friendly conversations. People I might debate in in X space rooms.
How would
or-
you feel? So like, let's
Dude, I would fucking slaughter this guy rhetorically. Imagine.
say you got like a Republican, he's like a decently famous lawmaker or online content creator, and he's pushing the idea that like the election was stolen. Like, is that something where like that's your political
Who cares, dog? That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed.
opinion?
Who cares?
I don't respect your political opinion, but I respect your differences. But we can still like be friendly on a personal level. Would you be able to put that aside, or is there like
No, no,
for anything like that?
I think I could be friendly with them. I would definitely want to hear their logic and let them hear the facts and like give them the facts if they don't already know them. They should if they're a lawmaker.
Mhm.
I mean, I would interview somebody who's on the right. I would definitely do that if they're an election denier. I think it's important to give them like a lot of people say, oh, how dare you give this person a platform like Alex Jones? How dare you go on Alex Jones show? Or how dare you give this election denier a
I like how they say election denier as if they have 100% confidence of the election results, knowing that the margin of error is way greater usually in elections than is the margin of victory for Joe Biden in these swing states. Just the audacity to really believe that. Like, for instance, if you were to ask me, like, okay, did Trump win Michigan in 2016? I'd say, yeah, probably. Now, do I know 100%? Well, obviously not. There wasn't a complete recount. There wasn't this audit. But I'd be happy to do that because I think the Republicans are pretty kosher when it comes to the election stuff, barring some exceptions. Whereas the Democrats are like, well, I'm just believing what they say without checking it. And it's like, well, come on, man. Come on, really?
platform on CNN or MSNBC? I think it's important because that's the only way their logic can be challenged, where people can see both sides rather than just hear them say one thing and you say another thing. I think having the conversation is what kind of might be that light bulb moment for people who believe that the election was stolen. Yeah, and I think that if you push people into an echo chamber, that's only going to cause more extremism. It's just these crazy ideas getting crazier and crazier as they bounce off each other. But if you actually you sit down and talk to that person, other people are listening, then there's still probably going to be extreme people that are fans of this person, but maybe you might bring them a little bit closer to the middle, a little bit away from that. Whereas if you just say, no, I won't talk, I think a lot of people on the left.
Okay, safe topic. Okay, I kind of agree with that. My brothers in Christ, I thought the whole podcast was going to be 40 minutes. In fact, there's evidently a 2.5 hour version of this episode, members only. Now, am I going to really spend $5 or $10 on this thing? No, broke college students need a break, okay? What the hell? All right. So it's actually only $3 to watch the whole thing, but I will not be fucking damned to do such a thing unless I'm being paid for it. So I'm going to link my Cash App in the description, folks, and you let me know if you want to see this reaction. All right, so there you go. 25 minutes of prime time dissertation and hating. The hater raids got me almost blacked out. I finna get a DUI right now because goddamn, that was horrible. But anyway, that's episode 3 analyzed. I mean, it's tough. I mean, they don't want the American people to see the whole thing. Maybe it was that bad. So let me know what you think down below. Comment, like, and subscribe. And if you don't, you're going to know what's going to happen to you because you will wake up with a guilt. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next one. Adios.